So you're studying for an econ test. Specifically, if you're watching this video, probably an AP econ test. Now it takes hours and hours to learn all the content. So when I was in AP econ, I would do what was best. Before every single test, I would watch some videos online, plan my schedule, just make sure I had everything ready so I could really lock in and focus. But every time, I was out of time. And all the time I spent preparing didn't really help me. Because the truth is, you just have to sometimes lock in and simply study. Now for AP Microeconomics, this was me. Because I didn't take this in a class. Instead, I fully self-paced, online studied this class. Now first off, you may be asking, well, if I don't want to waste time, why am I watching this video? And I say to that, yeah, good point. Go watch something else. Go watch review econ videos. Go do review FRQs. But if you've already watched and done many FRQs and are still struggling with this class, in this video, I'm going to tell you how I got a 5 on AP Microeconomics through self-studying methods. Now, first, I'm going to teach you some time management stuff related to self-studying. Secondly, we'll look at specific resources I used. And finally, I'll discuss the last few weeks before the AP Microeconomics exam, which was huge for allowing me to get a 5. A key to any AP class is studying, as these classes are often very hard for students, and learning the exact content of the class is going to require a lot of time outside of school. So to this end, I would suggest for any AP class, self-studied or not, to do a whole lot of extra work. A lot of work outside, online courses, that sort of thing. But if you're self-studying like I was for microeconomics, you need to plan it more efficiently. For me, what I did is I did the first 3 units over winter break and the next 3 over spring break. I sprinkled in some lessons in review between this, but this generally worked for me. If you need more time to do these lessons, and if you need longer periods of time based on whatever method you are using, I would suggest spreading this out throughout the year. But if you think you can generally pick up on economic concepts pretty quickly, just wait for the end of the year. Some specific tips I'd give you is don't spend much time on the first unit, especially if you're doing macroeconomics, as it is almost the exact same. Similarly with the second unit, make sure you are paying attention to supply and demand, but this is very similar to what you're doing in macroeconomics. So if you have a macroeconomics class or are also self-studying that class, they should overlap pretty well. Once we get to the 3rd and 4th and 5th and 6th unit, this is where you have to really focus. The 3rd and 4th unit are super important. Spend tons of time on them, review them over and over and over. Make sure you understand all your different marginal costs and marginal benefits. Make sure you understand how different curves relate to each other. And make sure you understand the one really important graph in which you analyze the microeconomics version of supply and demand, which looks slightly different than macroeconomics. But if you're really focusing on 3 and 4, you should be all right. As far as 5 and 6 go, they're mostly just extra stuff. For example, like game theory, you will probably see on 1 FRQ, but you probably won't see any MCQs, maybe 1 MCQ, 1 FRQ on game theory. It's not going to be a huge part of your exam. On many of these other topics, you can also find the exact questions pretty much online. For example, for the game theory questions, they're all just versions of the same idea. That is comparative advantage, just a different version of that. So if you just learn that one idea and do a couple practices, you should be all right. And if you do all that, you should have plenty of time to finish all your units, especially if you're remembering to put special focus on 3 and 4 and not as much time on 1, 2, 5, and 6. I think this will definitely give you plenty of time to review for the exam. But moving on to how I did it, and I did it in 2 main ways. Firstly, I did the whole Khan Academy course. I think the Khan Academy course was great. Everything in the Khan Academy course was enough to get me ready for the exam. And Khan Academy is amazing because it gives you so many multiple choice questions. And with all these multiple choice questions, it's quite easy to learn the format and learn the unique way in which AP questions are asked in general, because it is very different than a normal test. And then the other main way I studied was with College Board. Unfortunately, if you're self-studying, you can't do the progress checks, but the videos are still available for you. And I watched the videos for the topics I wasn't quite sure on. The College Board videos are quite long and there's a lot of yapping in them. But if you do watch those videos, they're filled with good stuff and will teach you the topics. And that's about all I did for studying. Microeconomics isn't a crazy difficult class, but I would suggest if you're not as inclined for AP classes, maybe check out another source, perhaps pick up Jacob Clifford's review packet, something like that. Finally, we're going to discuss how I reviewed before the exam. And like macroeconomics, if you have seen that video of mine, most of my final review was done on FRQs, specifically through the YouTube channel reviewecon.com. Now what this YouTube channel did was it would present an FRQ, allow you to answer each part, but then instantly explain how you should put it down on the test booklet. And what this does is it allows you to get recognition with the kinds of questions you're asking, practice answering concepts, and it teaches you how to exactly word things in the end. So I think this is by far the greatest source. Once again, Jacob Clifford could be helpful, but his costs money, so it's not necessarily as useful as Review Econ, which has tens and tens of FRQ practices for free. I would also suggest finding a free full-length practice exam and taking that, because if you are self-studying, you likely don't have a ton of experience with the actual format. But in general, I'd say microeconomics is extremely self-studyable, and if you just lock in and fully actually study, instead of sitting around watching videos of nerds talking about, yeah. I do still think this video is helpful. I would suggest not watching too many more videos. Get off YouTube, start studying, and just get started on microeconomics. Because in the end, that is truly the best way you will learn, is simply by doing it. So with that, my name is Lojin, you're a bunch of nerds, and I'll see you guys for the rest of my How I Got a 5